This is Hannibal here from thehannibaltv.com with a daily wrestling news update where I'm going to be talking about the ratings. And for the people that sometimes like to comment, nobody cares about the ratings. Why do you click on videos where the ratings are in the title? And for someone like me, the ratings are more interesting than what's actually going on in the events themselves. And obviously, not a lot of people are that interested in the TV shows these days because Raw tied their lowest rating of all time last night, 0.41 rating, matching their all-time lowest rating. So congratulations, you didn't hit a new record low, but you did match your record low from last year. But this includes from the beginning of Raw. From the very first Raw that started, I think it was in 93, to now, last night matched the record low. AEW did a 0.21 rating. And for the reason why it takes a few days for some of these ratings to come out, because they do count the DVR numbers. So for the people that say, well, AEW's ratings have been lower because it's on a different night, the fans can still DVR it. But I don't watch either one, so I'm not biased to either one. I will probably never work for any of those companies, so I'm as neutral as it comes. Tomorrow, the original Steve Regal, Mr. Electricity Steve Regal, is doing a live interview with me at 1 p.m. Eastern. This is not the Steve Regal that kissed McMahon's ass to keep a job. This is the original one that most of you probably remember from the AWA. And Thursday on the World Class Cast, World Class Pro Wrestling official podcast, we will have none other than UFC Hall of Famer and the reigning World Class Pro Wrestling champion, Stephan Bonner. That's going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern on Thursday. And at 2 p.m. Eastern on Thursday, I will have none other than Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker, who used to be the head trainer at the WCW Power Plant. Stephen Cox says hello from Texas, where the Blood Hunter is going to be appearing along with Blaze November 5th and 6th, as well as September the 19th. A couple other comments I'll read through as I take that down. Shane says cartoon WWE. I don't know about that. I haven't watched it. Paulie says Raw sucks. Herb says that Steve Regal worked with Spike Huber with him in his Southern Illinois Championship Wrestling. And of course, Herb is involved in that Bruiser Brody Cup event as well, which I'll give another plug to because it's going to be the biggest Fad Fest in Texas of 2021. And Herb is actually going to be getting an award as part of that event at the Carthage Civic Center. Scott, why does Vince like having his workers kiss his ass on TV? I don't know. David, Taz contacted me maybe 4 months ago, maybe 3 or 4 months ago, and he does watch my channel, but he does not want to do an interview with me. He says he doesn't do shoot interviews. But he did say he does watch my channel. And he certainly watched all the videos of people talking about his altercation with RVD and ECW. Fart Doctor, remind us during that podcast we will be taking fan questions. Thank you for the $1 tip, Wrestling. I appreciate every penny. Scott has not seen an episode of Raw in 2 years. I cannot remember the last one I've seen. Justin R. Why do people complain about WWE and AEW sucking? Don't like it, don't watch, which is what I do. And I would follow the news either way because I am interested in the news, but I wouldn't watch it. I think the last full show I've watched would have been maybe around 2005, 2006. Jason, I have no interest in wrestling again. This is way easier on the body, and pays me better than wrestling. And why the hell would I want to go to Kentucky? Kentucky is not on my list of places I want to go back to. Paulie checking in from New York City. And yeah, it seems that way, but I'm not holding any hard feelings against them. I've moved on. Is Bastion Booger dead? Yes. Bastion Booger, otherwise known as Muckin Singh, is dead. Beater Car says WWE is crap. There's I think there's 2 or 3 interviews with Baron Von Raschke on this channel, Dominic. If you just search up Baron Von Raschke, the Hannibal TV. Troy has 2 questions. Do I think Vince is aware his product sucks now? And his second question is cut off. Well, apparently Vince is at the Performance Center this week looking for wrestlers himself, looking for wrestlers to call up himself. So he must be aware that their current roster overall sucks. They do have some good wrestlers on TV. The storylines are absolute crap. But overall, it is absolute crap. As I said, I can't watch it. So he is aware. I mean, they fired a bunch of small wrestlers last week. I think they're aware that people have had enough of seeing these mini wrestlers. And part of the appeal of wrestling used to be these big, larger-than-life characters. But the other problem is there's no more territories. And they're not hiring the top talent from territories anymore. They're hiring people with no experience that may never have even made it in the territory days, but are getting pushes. So there's big issues. I guess their latest crop of stars, a lot of them were from TNA, and they got their experience in TNA, like the AJ Styles, Samoa Joe. The Hardys were in TNA, but they started in WWE, and they still have Jeff Hardy. But yeah, I'm not saying everyone in WWE is bad. Karrion Kross, I like, and I've done an interview with him. Roman Reigns, well, he's not going to be the next Hulk Hogan. He's good. Jinder Mahal, who I've beat numerous times. He had the guts to fight me, so I got to put him over. Bobby Lashley is a good champion to have, but having these multiple world champions is just confusing, and there's too many champions. The real Stoney does not have cable, and he's glad since wrestling is so bad. I haven't had cable since 2012 myself either. Spanky, a rerun of Golden Girls will draw a higher rating than Raw. Has anyone ever seen that picture of the Macho Man on Golden Girls? I don't know if he was actually on a show of it or if he was just on the set and posed for a picture with them. But I would personally rather watch a Golden Girls show than the current wrestling, because at least it would bring me back to the 80s. College Slam says TNA is terrible. I agree that the current Impact is terrible. I haven't watched it since like 2007. And I don't even think we get it here in Canada unless you have the Fight Network, which is a specialty cable package. Coach, is Vince building Lashley for Brock at SummerSlam? The only one I've heard about for SummerSlam is the rumored Roman Reigns against Cena. Is that the female earthquake in the thumbnail? No, it's this stupid angle they're doing with Eva Marie and this obese wrestler, which I've only seen the highlights, but it's not very intriguing. Josh, I've already done a lot of interviews with her. Maybe if I run into her again, I will. Jonathan, he watches WWE using his grandmother's cable account on the USA app, and he still feels ripped off. What's the difference between a governor and a mayor? A governor runs a state, and a mayor runs a city. Smiley says WWE sucks. When is Rene Dupree going to be back on my channel? I don't know. He usually just messages me and says he wants to address something or wants to appear. I don't really bother him about appearances. Rich Piana, which is you're back from the grave. You're surprised WWE hasn't brought back the WCW brand. It would have made more sense to have a WWE and WCW brand than Raw and SmackDown, but it's been so long now. What might be good would be to have like a WCW pay-per-view, to be honest with you. I think that would draw if they brought back WCW for one night. Wrestling brings up the obese wrestler is Piper Niven. Sean, how is Axe doing? Last I heard, he was recovering. Robert respects what I do. Sunny interview. Last time I had communication with her, she said she didn't want to do one. Ricky Steamboat, it's possible. I always found him so boring, and I don't expect Ricky Steamboat to be a very good interview. He's too much of a company man, and I could see him being a very plain interview. Although I did see an RF interview that he did in the past that Harry Smith actually lent me back in like the early 2000s, where he admitted to taking speed before matches in the 80s. Do I think the Blood Hunter were to get an NXT tryout, or is he too violent for WWE? I think you answered your own question there, Wendell. He's far too violent. Would I interview Ryback? No. He'd be on my list of people along with, what's his face? I already forgot his name. The gay porn actor, Lars Sullivan. Those are two guys I'd rather fight an interview. Paulie, interview the Stinger from AEW as Piper wants to come up and say hi. Mike Brown says something about WWE titles. Someone wants to see a Goon interview part 2. I actually talked to Kevin Sullivan today, the Taskmaster himself, and he said he really enjoyed the first Goon interview. Scott likes my recaps. He's watching on the Great North Wrestling Twitch channel. We do stream these on the Hannibal TV Facebook page, ad-free, and the Great North Wrestling Twitch channel, ad-free. Don Morocco, a lot of people have wanted me to interview him, but he never responds to any of my communication. And I've heard it's because someone that he works with doesn't want him to do an interview with me. I heard that from Duke the Dumpster Drosy, who is one of the people I tried to contact Don Morocco through. Sorry, I've been drinking a protein shake here. I'm going to work out after this. Mike Brown talks about, there's even more titles than that. You've only named a few there. What's up, Piper? She's on my lap now, her favorite spot. Josh, we could very well see Amber Nova in Great North Wrestling. If everything ever gets back to normal here, I mean, they're opening up tanning salons in Ontario next week or this week. You can now go and get skin cancer at a tanning salon, but you can't work out. So I don't expect them to allow events in front of fans anytime soon in Ontario. That's one of the reasons I'm going to continue working with companies in the US for now. Did I find any of the Dark Side of the Ring topics interesting? Well, as I said, I did interview Dynamite Kid's daughter, Bronwyn, on the weekend. It has almost 10,000 views. That was my favorite one from this season. Do I drink alcohol, Spanky? Yes, I particularly like wine, red wine. In fact, I love it, but I try and not drink alcohol that often because obviously it goes against training. Jay, I don't know who you're talking about. Jose, you're asking me about Lance Von Erich. I just interviewed seconds before doing this the author of Lance Von Erich's book. He didn't want to do an interview with me. However, I do have an interview with him on this channel. If you search Lance Von Erich, The Hannibal TV, I have one that John Paz did with him. And his author knows all about him, and I just did that interview. And Bryan Adams is dead. I hate to tell you this. If you're talking about Bryan Adams, who was Crush, he's dead. If you're talking about the singer Bryan Adams, who actually grew up for a short period of time in the town I live in, don't expect that. Sunset smooth. Everything's back to normal in New Jersey. Good for you. Troy, it's doubtful. It's doubtful. Stevie TV, maybe one day. I have interviewed Rob Van Dam with Katie Forbes standing beside him. That counts. Donnie Cannabis watching on Twitch says, hi, guys. A couple more questions. Have I seen Beyond the Mat? I actually have a review of Beyond the Mat. If you search up the Hannibal TV reviews Beyond the Mat. Is Enzo in the wrestling business still? In fact, Enzo is going to be on this Battleground Championship Wrestling event that I'm going to be covering at the ECW Arena September 18th, where Raven is bringing a mystery opponent to fight Nunzio, otherwise known as Little Guido. Matt Hardy is going to be on the card. It's going to be a huge event. Amber Nova is actually going to be on that card as well for someone that was asking about Amber recently. Jason, you can just search up Hannibal talks about the Lanny Poffo incident, and I did a whole 10-minute explanation of that. Will Piper's daughter ever be in WWE? I don't see why she wouldn't be. And if you're talking about Teal Piper, who is the godmother of my dog Piper, I would like to see her in there for sure. Someone wishes me the best. A couple more questions and I got to go. Any update on Buff Bagwell? He's put out a few videos where he looks incredibly sunburnt. And he's talking about everything's okay. He's just a weird guy, and I hope he doesn't kill anyone. Willie, I am certainly not. Certainly not, although I appreciate it because he has a better physique than me. Have I watched The Wrestling Queen about Vivian Vachon from 1973? Yes. Richie, I just did an interview with Jeremy Prophet maybe a month ago. If you just search up Jeremy Prophet, the Hannibal TV interview 2021, you'll see that. Nicholas has an interview with Rudy Gonzalez. As far as the controversy about him, from the people I've talked to that know him, they say there's nothing to that story. And people make up stuff about people all the time. I can tell you he was not convicted of anything or formally charged with anything. Did I see the new footage that was put out about UFOs? I heard there was something coming out today. Please put the link in the comments. Papa John, I just mentioned a bunch of the shoots that I'm doing this week. I'm working on a bunch more. Still waiting for Rick Bassman. He's supposed to hook me up with two of the biggest shoots I've ever done. But he's working with Cameo now, and he keeps telling me he's going to get me some big guests, but haven't seen them yet. Courtney, Buff's nose is super weird. Well, people with alcohol problems do get weird looking noses. It's called like an alcoholic's nose. Maybe that's why. You're making my nose itch thinking about that. David, Perry Saturn interview. Perry Saturn, along with Billy Jack Haynes, are missing right now. Nobody knows where they are. Jay Ward sent me a $2.99 super sticker. Really appreciate it. Every little bit helps. Oh, Tommy from the Bronx just tipped me $20. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Answer a couple more questions here. Some people are asking the same questions that have been asked earlier. Jeremy Corbet would be a good interview, but he doesn't answer me. For some reason, it's very hard for me to get UFO interviews. I'm constantly asking UFO people that are credible, and they're hard to get. Papa John 82 with the Sabu image sends me $5. I appreciate it. See, now I'm definitely going to have to get you guys a good interview in the next week or so, because you've been kind enough to tip me. I really appreciate it. Piper appreciates it too. Her favorite food is bananas, tomatoes, and strawberries. So some of that super sticker might go to her because she loves that kind of stuff. So I appreciate all of that. Oh, Jay Ward sends $9.99. You guys are great tonight. Really appreciate it. Neo GX, what are my thoughts on Bill Cooper, the astronaut that has gone public about UFOs? I think he's credible. I have interviewed Juventud Guerrera, mixed partial farts, and I'm not going to interview him again. Sam is Blood Hunter Canadian. No. At one point, I believe he resided in Puerto Rico, but as far as I'm aware, nobody knows where he's from. Beverly Brothers shoot interview. That would be a good one. That would be a really good one. So I'll call it a night. Appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. All the tips. Every little bit helps, and I'm going to work on some big interviews for you guys for July. And I'm going to message Rick Bassman right now and say, where is this biggest interview ever that you said you were going to get me? Am I going to interview Ken Patera again? I'll interview Ken Patera any day because his interviews are great. I'd like to do an in-person one with him sometime and get some alcohol into him, because I think he would be even more entertaining if he was under the influence. So have a great night from Piper and I.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and click the subscribe